Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good late evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. I wanted to jump on here really quick because there was some new developing information that just happened just about an hour and a half, about 2.5 hours ago, revolving around Gabby Petito. I know. A lot of us are going, what the hell? Why are we still talking about this and all that? But I think that there's some information here that I thought was very interesting that I feel like we need to talk about. Real talk. I won't be on for a very long time, but I just wanted to come on and talk about this piece and get your opinions on this because I find it, like I said, very, very interesting. Moab police have been admitting to them saying that they've made some mistakes during the traffic stop, during the stop that they were when they were responding to that 911 call. Saying that Gabby was being attacked by Brian Laundrie. I know. A lot of us are like, what is going on? Why are we talking about this? This is old. This is old news and all that. Not really. This is brand new information. But I felt like we could talk about this, chop it up really quick, because it's kind of closing a chapter to everything that's been going on, everything that's been surrounding the craziness that we know about this Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito debacle, right? So if you guys don't know anything about this, of course I'm gonna walk through it with you. Wow, I've been talking a lot today, so I'm a little tired, okay? And it is late. You know what I'm saying? So I figured I'd jump on here. Most likely, I am not going to be on tomorrow morning unless something big happens. But I'm probably going to take tomorrow morning off to just take some time off because I have been doing a bunch of stuff today outside of just this room. So anyway, just a heads up for all you guys that do watch the show in the morning. But anyway, please be sure to hit that like button down below. Send those likes all the way up. Of course, do not forget to crush that subscribe button. It'd be great to have you a part of the Pascal Show family. And we got to jump into this. Like I said, not going to be here for a long time, but we're going to be here for a good time. And we're here for a good conversation. So you read the title down below. Moab police, after some investigation, they are starting to realize, oh, damn. Oh, my damn. Oh, so sorry. They made some mistakes, and apparently they were unintentional mistakes. During the 911 call that they were responding to, where they got to encounter Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito, the infamous video that's out here, that body cam footage that we've all seen over 100,000 times. I don't know how many times I've seen that body cam footage. It's infamous now. I mean, it's forever burned in all of our brains, right? For everybody who's been watching and engulfed in this story of, at first is, where is Gabby? Then it is, body was found. Then it was, what happened to Gabby? Then it was, Brian isn't talking about anything. Where is Brian now? Then it's, where is Brian? And then all of a sudden, we found his body parts where? And so on, and so on, and so on. So anyway, without further ado, we got to jump into these stories, get this conversation moving. And the reason why I saw this is because I saw Brian Enton's Twitter page, and it started just blowing up. I was just randomly perusing, just seeing what was going on. And, he started putting out these tweets, and I'm gonna show you guys those in a second. But he was just putting out these tweets, and I'm like, damn, okay, this is probably going to pop off. People are going to really talk about this. So I was like, you know what? Let me see what's going on. Let me check out the story and see if it's worthwhile. And I think this is worthwhile. Because for once, law enforcement is finally saying, hey, I made a mistake. I done mucked up. My bad, y'all. Oops. Right? Maybe because they saw a young girl, a young woman The cop, if you remember the body cam footage, he was even sitting there going, "Oh, you remind me of my daughter. You even remind me of my daughter," so on and so forth. So it kind of, it kind of just struck the heartstrings of some of the 50 to the point where they're just like, you know what, we're just gonna let you guys apart for the night, and then we'll get you guys can get back together later and all that stuff. But now they're starting to realize, though, maybe they should have locked her up. They should have locked her up. I'm just going to say that again. They should have locked her up, not the other way around, which is also very surprising. But it's because of the stuff that they saw, the 911 call that they received, the story that they received from Gabby and Brian. Two completely different. They were separated, and they had they had the same story going on, where she said, "I attacked him. Yes, I attacked him. And I'm so sorry," and so on and so forth. So we got to check out this article by News Nation. All right, shout out to News Nation. They've been on this case like a mug. Okay, so here it is, y'all. Oh, and don't worry, Infinite Content. We gonna get there. We gonna get to that comment here real quick. Okay, because I already, you know where I stand on this whole situation. I've said it multiple times when we watched the body cam footage, right? Both angles we watched, okay? So we're going to talk about that here shortly. But anyway, let's get into this article, shall we? And I do have a little bit of the video, the news clip here as well, which we will take a look at here very shortly. But here it is. Gabby Petito case. Review reveals mistakes by Utah police. Now, I'm going to be saying some things that might sound repeated from the News Nation's news clip, but we are going to be playing that as well. So just bear with me, okay? Just bear with me a little bit because I think this is important. All right? So, Moab officers made several unintentional mistakes when responding to a 911 call about DV involving Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. A review by an independent law enforcement agency found. Interesting. And I love how they say unintentional mistakes. So there were mistakes made in how this case was handled. The person conducting the review said, if this case was handled flawlessly, would it have changed anything? Nobody knows. And that's true. We don't know. We don't know. Like, let's entertain the idea really quick that, say, they pull them over, they hear both sides of the story, both perspectives match in the same, right? Saying that she's the one that hit him, and he was the victim, she was the assailant, right? And they said, okay, we're going to lock her up. Would she still be alive today? We don't know. We really don't know, right? But still, there are quote unquote unintentional mistakes that happen. And, I'm going to get into my full unadulterated opinion here very shortly. I mean, you guys have heard it before. But it's very interesting that they're saying unintentional mistakes. So let's continue. The city of Moab on Wednesday released a statement and the review of the August 12th incident, which took place shortly before Petito disappeared. It says the mistakes stemmed from the fact that officers failed to cite Miss Petito for DV. This review also said, just because Gabby was determined to be the predominant aggressor, as it is related to this incident, doesn't mean she was the long-term predominant aggressor in this relationship. Now, here's the thing. How would you know? In just meeting Brian and meeting Gabby, how would you automatically assume, hey, he's the one who's the aggressor and she is not? This is just a flash in the pan kind of moment. You can't predict that. No one can. Okay? This ain't Minority Report, okay? Where you got psychics, floating in water. You know what I'm saying? Like knowing what's going to happen in the future. You can't predict that there's a history of violence between these two, right? That there's a language of violence that's been integrated in this relationship. You don't know. All you know is that maybe she's having a bad day. She lost her temper. Maybe this was a flash. Maybe this was a fluke. Maybe this is their language. You never know, right? And you never know if Brian really is a bad boy. You just can't predict it. That I give them that. During the 911 call, a man told the Grand County Sheriff's Office that he saw a man slap a woman while walking through the town and proceeded to hit her before the two got in their van and drove off. So here's the piece that doesn't make any sense to me. You got a 911 call that was made by a man who was watching these two walking down the street, and allegedly Brian Laundrie slapped her in the face while walking into town, walking her through the town, and proceeded to assault her before they got into a van and drove off. Now, you have that perspective. You have that 911 call. So when they came and pulled them over, why weren't they referencing that 911 call? Just saying. Now, here's the thing. That 911 call, regardless if it's true or not, they still did not implement that. They still did not use that when they pulled them over. They just said, hey, man, hey, Brian, what's going on here? What's the problem? What's the story? Right? Then they turn over to her. Hey, sweetheart, what's going on? What's the story? And then she said, I hit him. I'm sorry. I did this and this. I was hitting him with the cell phone. I grabbed the steering wheel. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's all right. It's all right. But weren't they supposed to be picking them up or pulling them over because of this 911 call that was made as well? Not only just because they were going like 3 times the speed limit on the road, and the car hit the shoulder, right, hit a curb and all that stuff, and looking really, really bad. There were also a 911 call that was made, right? Why wasn't that added into their investigation when they were sitting there talking with these two? See what I'm saying? We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl. This 911 caller said. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off. Bing, bang, boom. You have eyewitness account of this going down, of a woman getting smacked in the face. Sounds like allegedly Brian Laundrie was hitting her several times. You see what I'm saying? Why wasn't any of this implemented when they drove and pulled them over? Nothing was connected? Strange, right? Later in the day, Moab police in Utah respond to reports of alleged physical interaction between Petito and Laundrie. Hour-long body cam footage, which we all have seen from the investigation, shows officers responding to the 911 call with Petito crying uncontrollably, saying the pair had been having, quote-unquote, little arguments that day. Authorities said Laundrie told officers the couple had been traveling for 4 to 5 months, which created emotional strain between them and increased the number of arguments. Okay. But yet they were responding to a 911 call that they completely ignored. Oh, we forgot about this part. The most important part. The man is hurting the woman. They get in the car and they drive off. 911, they jump, the cruisers go down, track this car down. All of a sudden, the car is swerving all over the place, going hella fast, swerving and hitting the curb and all that stuff. They pull him over. They sit down, they have a conversation with him, and they're going, wait a second, bruh. Now, once you didn't even ask, hey, we had a 911 call asking about you, Brian. They said that you are hurting somebody. Weird, right? Okay. On September 30th, body cam footage from a different angle, which we saw, was released that shows Petito telling an officer Laundrie grabbed her jaw, but he hit him. But she hit him a couple times first. Petito and Laundrie reportedly separated for the night, with Petito keeping the van, and then of course Laundrie going and staying at a hotel, lodging assistance from the police. Body cam footage is from August 12th. Sometime at the end of the month, Gabby Petito was killed. Her remains, of course, we know was found in Wyoming on September 19th. So this is so interesting. I'm desperately effed over the fact that she got killed. One of the responding officers is quoted saying in an investigative review, "I really am. I would have done anything to stop it if I would have known that was coming." Well, here's the thing. There was a 911 call that was administered that you guys were responding to, but for some odd reason, that 911 call went right out the window when you saw her crying. Wouldn't that make you look into it even more, though? Wouldn't that make you investigate in this ish even harder? That is the question I have. But apparently they're saying these were unintentional mistakes. I'm feeling a little bit of a bias going on here. Just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. I feel like if the shoe was on the other foot, the situation had a little bit more melon in the skin, maybe, the outcome would be different. Maybe. I don't ride only on that, but I've said it before and I'll still say it till I die. Maybe the situation would have been different. Maybe they would have listened to the 911 call. But as soon as they saw her and him, and then she's sitting there bawling her eyes out, suddenly they forget that there was a 911 call made because there was DV happening. It's interesting, right? And then, of course, one of the other officers is going, I feel for her. It makes me feel for her because she reminds me of my daughter. He literally says it on the body cam. He goes, you remind me of my daughter. She's like you, 100 and some pounds wet and all that stuff. I remember that like I watched this video yesterday. And yet they go, well, she's the one who hit you. So you know what? Instead of arresting them and all that stuff and all that paperwork and all that jargon, you know what? We're just going to separate them for the night. But then next thing you know, what happens? They get back together and now Gabby Petito is no longer here. I'll say this, though. I'm not sitting here saying that by them arresting her, let's just say, detaining her, or actually doing their due diligence and investigating even more into if Brian Laundrie was actually slapping her while they were walking around type of thing before they got into the van, which caused the 911 call to happen. If they actually did their due diligence, maybe he would have been the one in jail. Maybe he would have been the one detained and held for the night, or held for however long he needs to be there for. You see what I'm saying? So this is important. In August, or in the August police report, Laundrie was listed as the victim. Now, Chief Edge said there was not enough evidence to move forward with any charges. Remember, if they totally ignored that 911 call, he still had marks on his face. There were still marks on her body. There was still proof that there was some sort of altercation before they pulled up on both of their bodies. So for them to sit here and say There was not enough evidence to move forward, and yet she is admitting to putting her paws on him. And they're talking about the altercation, at least the incident that happens in the car. They didn't talk about what happened outside the car, which is also very interesting. They didn't talk about what happened before they got into the car. Yeah, he didn't say, "Oh, I was hitting her and all that stuff, and then she was getting crazy, so I jumped in the car." And then, but they went to the part of, I got into the car, I started driving, and then we got into a fight, and that was it. That was it. Interesting, right? Never talked about what happened before. Huh. So here it is. But the independent law enforcement agency investigative report suggests improvements be made to policies and officer training. So even though they're like, whoops, unintentional mistakes, but we're gonna fix it for next time. So some of the recommendations include more DV investigation training. I thought that was something that you already did. Like I said, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here. I'm not trying to make law enforcement look bad. Law enforcement look bad. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to talk about this, and I'm confused. Wouldn't they already have enough of this going on? Wouldn't they already have enough domestic violence investigation training? But now they're going, oh, no, we got to make sure we do more of this, though. That doesn't work for me. Okay, that's just number one. Okay, additional legit training to make sure officers understand state laws and statutes. Okay. Isn't that why you get into law enforcement? Because you are supposed to enforce the law? So when you say additional legal training to make sure officers understand state laws and statutes, weren't they supposed to know that ish? This makes it sound like there's some serious complacency and laziness going on here. I mean, hopefully you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. And if you do, please be sure to hit that like button. Send those likes all the way up. But like I said, aren't they the enforcers of the law? And if they have to, why don't they have like a special Google or a special book in every single squad car out here in this piece? So you're telling me that now they're going to do additional training? Bruh, that's the whole point of going into cadet school or whatever it's called. You know what I mean? Police academy and becoming a cadet and all that stuff to learn about the law. Aren't you supposed to know these things before you get out? But now that's gone. Now they're going, oh, we need to implement these things. Okay. An overall policy review, a software review. I don't know what that means exactly. Like, if you don't know how to use the software that you are given for your job, then why do you have the job in the first mother-loving place, my brothers and sisters? Overall policy review. I'll say it too. What? So you got to go through the handbook, the employee's handbook one more time? Is that what it is? Just so everybody knows. Hey, everybody in the nosebleed seats, just so you know, we're going to go through the employee's handbook one more time. What? Ain't that like the first rule of Fight Club? You know what I'm saying? Ain't that the first rule? Ain't that something you're supposed to do? Software review, though. So you tell me officers don't know how to use the software? Strengthening the review process for incident reports. This gives me a headache, y'all. Like, I feel like all of this right here, I'm just going to highlight all these. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that they're saying, well, hey, unintentional mistakes, but here it is, though. We going back to the basics. We going back to Cop 101. So everybody understands what is the procedures to be a cop in that area. That doesn't work for me. The investigative report also found that a statement was never obtained by the original 911 caller. It recommends that that be done so the incident report is more complete. It also says officers made a mistake by not reading the entire assault statute, as well as misinterpreting the language in the statute. So they were, because remember if you saw the other angle in infinite content, I'll get to that super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Real talk. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But you remember when they were doing when we looked at the second video, right? The second body cam footage, the other angle, okay? And in this angle, they're sitting there, he's talking mainly to Gabby Petito. He's doing his thing. He's going, you remind me of my daughter and blah, 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 that stuff, right? He gets into the car. He gets into a squad car and he starts clackety, clackety, clacky, getting some information, I'm assuming on the website, like on the software that they're talking about. Basically kind of like a breakdown of whatever that they're looking at. I forgot exactly what he was looking up for or looking up, but I think he was trying to find ways to, finesse the situation where Gabby, who they had agreed was the assailant, they were going to try to find a way to finesse it so that she wouldn't have to be locked up, right? For DV charges. But he reads the things out loud to his partner through the window, who's on the passenger, looking through the passenger window, and he's clickety-clacky, and they're trying to find ways to get around this thing, right? And I guess whatever he was saying was wrong. Like I said, I am not an ex-cop. I don't live a life of law enforcement. I am not a lawyer either. But from my understanding, it seems like he misinterpreted, or he did his own interpretation of what they said on that thing that he looked up on his computer in his squad car. Very interesting. The report suggests the officer be put on probation or have it extended, but the city's statement does not mention whether it plans to move forward with that recommendation. Okay, of course, because they want to protect their own. What else is new? Let me pull up this super chat before it fully disappears. But infinite content, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And guys, please be sure to send those likes all the way up. I'd love to see go past 100 likes. That would really, really mean a lot to me, okay? You forget an important point. Cops exist to serve the interest of themselves first and those of capital next. Barber get more training than cops. I mean, you know what? You are not wrong. I mean, well, I do think that some cops out here, because I'm not going to throw all cops under the bus. I'm just not. But what I will say, because I do think that there are cops, I do believe that there are good cops out here. I do. I really do. I think there are some cops out here that really care about what they do. But I do think that there can be departments in many cities where if your higher ups are lackadaisical are complacent or AKA lazy as a mug, yeah, that stuff trickles down, my brothers and sisters. I think that stuff trickles down. You put out that kind of energy, it just keeps going. And everyone else is like, well, if he phoned it in, I could phone it in too. I could just make up my own decisions right here. Oh, she's a pretty little, girl. It's okay. She reminds me of my daughter. So it's all good. We'll find a way to move around this so that they can get back on their road and keep beating the crap out of each other. I mean, that's literally what it feels like. Then it's also the thing of, I don't know if you remember this, but one part that popped out in my mind is, hey, he didn't want to do all that paperwork. I don't know if you remember that, but there was a moment where he literally said the three of the cops were talking together. They're doing a little powwow. And he was just like, if you don't really feel like doing all this work, all the paperwork, I say do this. Verbatim. Complacency. Laziness. Being choosy on who gets the full force, full force of the law and who doesn't. And don't get me wrong. I mean, come on now. We've all had those moments where we have, a cop pulls us over and we don't get that ticket. You know what I'm saying? And we're like, thank you, trust. But when it comes to something like DV, when it comes to assault, when it comes to hurting and harming one person, there should be zero tolerance. Without a shadow of a doubt, there should be zero mother-loving tolerance. And yet these guys decided to be a very soft butter version of Judge Dredd. They just said, hey, we are the law. But hey, she's a sweet little girl. She meant no bad. She didn't mean no bad. We'll just give her a little slap on the wrist and we'll keep moving. Because she reminds me of my daughter. Okay. Based on the report findings, the city of Moab believes our officers showed kindness, respect, and empathy in their handling of this incident. Yes, they did. But maybe it was too nice. Maybe it was just too nice because they said, oh, she reminds me of my daughter. I know I keep repeating that, but that's literally what he says. And I think that's one of the reasons why she got literally less than a slap on the wrist. She spent the night alone. That's it. That's it. They let her go because of that. Like I said, if this was a different situation, y'all know what I'm saying. There'd be people locked up. People would be locked up. Trust. Okay? Adding that they would hire a trained DV specialist to oversee the police's investigations. More training and testing officers will also take place. So in other words, they are literally going, okay, we went all the way up, we ran all the way up the totem pole, and management is restructuring. And HR said, we got to bring in this new person that's going to talk about diversity. I mean, that's literally what's going on here. We're going to bring in somebody who's going to talk to us about DV. Because we already ran it all the way up the pole, and they feel some type of way, and we need to make sure that we got to make this happen. Investigators say Petito was last in contact with her family in late August when the couple was visiting Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park. Her body was found at a camping area in Bridger Teton National Forest in Wyoming days after a nationwide search was launched. The city of Moab sends our sincere condolences to the Petito family. Our hearts go out to them as they continue to deal with the tragic loss of their daughter. Of course, Landry Petito, we already know he was the person of interest, person who did not want to talk to anybody. He refused. He disappeared on the 13th of September. His body or parts of his body was found near the Carlton Reserve on October 20th and was identified the next day by his parents. By the way. And yet, this woman could still be alive if they played zero tolerance in the situation and also did their due diligence, did their background, asked the proper questions, talked about that 911 call with Brian Laundrie to see. They said that you were hitting her. What's up with that, dough? And let him squirm and see what comes out of his mouth. But that conversation never happened. It's very likely Gabby was in a long-term victim of DV. Whether that be physically, mentally, and or emotionally. The person conducting the independent review said this. So there you have it, guys. I mean, like I said, I'm going to show you guys this video, of course, because I think this is, I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but there's pieces in here that I think are important. There might be some repetitive, things that I've said already, but I do think that there is a lot that we can take from this particular video. So let's take a look.
And the report says made several unintentional mistakes that stemmed from the fact that the officers failed to cite Ms. Petito for domestic violence. Issue number one. The report also recommends improvements to both the policies and the training of Moab police. They also say additional training in domestic violence investigations, as well as additional legal training to ensure officers understand state laws and statutes moving forward is necessary. Okay,
too
with
little,
that,
too late.
I want to bring in Brian Nenton. As you know at home and you've been
go.
following this case, Brian has been on this investigation from the start. He spent months in front of the Laundrie home in Florida as we waited for new information in the search for Brian. Of course, tonight we know Gabby is gone, Brian is dead, and the search for answers continues. All right, Brian, one thing stood out to me in this report, and I want to get your take. The investigator said there are many what ifs, and so we've got a full screen to share with people at home. There are many what ifs that have presented itself as part of this investigation. The primary one being, would Gabby be alive today if this case was handled differently? That is an impossible question to answer, despite it being the answer many people want to know. Nobody knows, and nobody will ever know the answer to that question. My job is to provide information into the details of this investigation and if it was handled appropriately. So here we are tonight, Brian. First of all, you've read through what you can so far of the report. Give me your top line thoughts.
Well, what you just read, Marnie, I thought it was really interesting that they included that line in an official report. And I was listening to the recap of all the coverage we did. And you have to understand why this report is so important. This traffic stop was 2 weeks before the last time anyone heard from Gabby Petito. And what happened during this traffic stop and the way the two officers handled the traffic stop did impact the entire thing. We would not be even here doing this story right now if things happened differently during this traffic stop. That is why this report is so important. And you mentioned it. Hopefully other police departments will learn from what happened here. So what really stood out to me was, first of all, that the investigators said that there were many mistakes made by the Moab Police Department, but that none of them were intentional. They said they were not intentional. And in the interviews with the officers, they explained just how awful these officers feel. I mean, the officers basically said this has changed their life forever, and this is something they live with every day. But
you know, it's kind of the thing of like, okay, you know, maybe we just have to be straight on the law, period, from this point on. Like I said, a speeding ticket, you know what I mean? Hey, sometimes you just let that person go and they go, hey, I'm going to give you a warning. Just so you know, you have a warning. Okay? But then there's other things where it's like, yo, hey, bruh, zero tolerance on violence, period. That's what it should have happened. That's what should have happened, but it didn't.
Regardless, mistakes were made. Number one, the investigator said the officers should have made an arrest. There was probable cause. This was a domestic violence situation and should have been treated as one, and there should have been an arrest. But what's interesting is they say the arrest should not have been a Brian Laundrie, but based on the specifics of just this incident, they say that Gabby Petito should have been arrested, but we know that did not happen.
I want to let our control room know
right.
that we've got that 911 call, and so I'm going to call for that in just a moment if you guys can get that ready. But Brian, I want to get your thoughts on that 911 call, because that was a lot of this investigation. And on page 25 of the report, they said they talked about why they didn't follow up with the 911 caller or the report. They said, quote, "There is not an excuse for it. It can explain it. I can't excuse it." So you may recall that a man called 911, said he saw an assault at a nearby co-op. Let's play that call, and then Brian, I want you to kind of catch people up to what happened in this call and what the report says about it.
Real quick, like I said, there was a full-on call beforehand. And yet still, those people didn't do anything about it, even when she admitted to guilt. And I'm sitting here saying, like, yeah, I mean, obviously the focus should have been on Brian, right? Because at the end of the day, what he did was absolutely horrendous and unspeakable, right? But still, there was a 911 call. Then on top of that, Gabby Petito admits to putting her hands on him, hitting him, assaulting him, and they still did nothing because, like I said, reminds him of a daughter. That's basically it.
We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
Okay, you said it's a white van?
White van. I give you the license plate. Just give me 1 sec.
All right, Brian. So walk us through what happened after that. And the report indicates that police should have gathered more statements, followed up with that caller to identify exactly what had happened to add to the report.
Yeah, so they did not follow up with that caller, which was one of the issues here. In fact, they didn't really follow up on much of anything, which is one of the things that was called out in this investigative report. What's interesting about that 911 call is that you hear the witness say that they saw Brian Laundrie hitting Gabby Petito, but when the officers responded, what you heard was Gabby Petito saying that she was actually the aggressor. And what's interesting about the report is even with the context of the 911 call, the investigator who investigated the officer's actions came to the conclusion that there was probable cause not to arrest Brian Laundrie, but actually to arrest Gabby Petito, and said that it was essentially a mistake that the officers didn't do that.
Right. So determining an aggressor, following up on the 911 call, following Utah statute is also an issue that was raised in this report. I want to again quote something from the report. They said the end result of this investigated incident concluded with separating Brian and Gabby, not making an arrest, either by citation or custody, based on the information provided in the specific incident. Brian would be the victim, Gabby being the suspect. I'm interested, Brian, I know that you have been in touch with off-camera police officers with the Moab Police Department, the police chief. This report indicates that some changes need to be made. What have they shared with you leading up to this investigation and the release of this information about their role in all of it and how they feel?
Well, as I mentioned, the officers feel absolutely terrible and are still dealing with this tragedy every single day, and certainly don't take lightly what happened. And I believe want to learn from this. So does the police department. They plan to put new training in place, which frankly they need based on this report. I mean, there were some major mistakes. something that really stood out to me, Marnie, was that this entire incident with the Moab Police Department was classified as disorderly conduct, not domestic violence. And the investigator says that was a massive mistake. I mean, most people watching this video now could see that this was a domestic violence incident, and the confusion is why it was categorized as disorderly conduct. If it had been categorized as domestic violence, there would have been a review after. There would have been follow-up. This would have been sent to a prosecutor. And perhaps, 2 weeks went by again from the time of the traffic stop to the time that Gabby Petito was last heard from. Perhaps during those 2 weeks, something could have been done. The report mentions it. Of course, we don't really know whether that would have helped in the end.
Here it is. Here's the other thing as well. Wow. Here's the other thing as well to consider. Why not just lock them both up? If you can't point your finger at one person and you know that both of them literally were hitting each other, they both admit to putting their hands on each other, lock them both up. Lock them up for a night. Maybe that would change maybe it would cool them down and change their perspective. Maybe, and maybe not. Like I said, there's a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda here, right? There's a whole lot of, I wish I could have done this. We should have done that. If we did this, we would have done this, and maybe this girl would not be dead right now. Possibly, but we can't predict the future, like I said before, right? We can't really assume, right, what would the future outcome be, because that's not the path we went down. But at the same time, though, there should be a zero tolerance. And if both were acting a fool and both were admitting to putting their hands on each other and all that stuff, hey, in my mind, I go, hey, why don't you just lock them up real quick? You know what I mean? Lock them up and just tell them to shut the hell up for a night. Keep them away from each other and keep them moving. And that's it. That's it. But the fact that they're admitting to, we need to, we're going to need to do this, that, and the third, and we need to take care of all this other things, and we need to we need to do some investigative work, investigating in this thing, and we need to bring in a DV specialist for our cops so that they understand what to do with this whole situation. See, this is the thing. That's when you go and find new cops. If they don't know how to enforce the law when they are supposed to be law enforcers, then they shouldn't be cops in the first place. If they don't know the rudiments, the very basics of their job, and they have to be reminded of those things, that's careless. And that's scary to think about. By the way, let me add this also here. Let me add this into this jambalaya, this gumbo that I'm throwing together right now. Let's throw this in here too. Remember, we still had Crystal Beck, Kylan Schulte out in that same area as well. That local PD not did one damn thing for them as well. There are two women that are still has still not found any justice. Their killer is allegedly still out on the lam, still kicking rocks out here, y'all. Because Moab police sat on their hands and did nothing. Let me remind you, Kylan Schulte, Crystal Beck, they lived there, married couple, happy, joy. Were out one night. They said that they told a friend of theirs, hey, there's been a creeper around our camping site. If you don't see us tomorrow, it's probably be because this creeper probably did something to us. Guess what? The very next day, they don't end up showing up for dinner at a friend's house. But here's the kicker. This is the reason why I'm bringing up Moab police. Moab police went out there and worked on that case for maybe a few hours, and then they gave up. Fully gave up. It had to be a regular civilian, all right, A regular civilian had to go out of her way to hike through the area, the campsite, and she found them within 5 hours, y'all. 5. Same thing about this law enforcement that let Gabby Petito go, basically. And gave her a pass. And gave Brian Laundrie a pass. It apparently ignored the 911 call about Brian Laundrie hitting Gabby Petito. These are the same law enforcements. These are the same police officers, police department that were covering this unsolved case of Kylan Schulte and Crystal Beck. And still to this day, they haven't done one damn thing. So in my mind, I go, hey, that whole department needs to restructure. Management needs to restructure up in this biz-naive when it comes to that case. And obviously, they're admitting guilt right now. They're admitting that they done mucked up in this piece. What does this say about the future of the law enforcement inside of Moab? We don't know. But I will tell you this. It shows a lot about their character and how much they really do care about the people that reside in their own city. I got one super chat. Let me get in here. Here in the state of Ohio, officers have no choice if there's evidence of physical attack, either spoken or evidence of marks. Bang. You know what, Paul Graves, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. And thank you so much for the truth bomb right here. All right, if I had sound effects, I'd just drop a truth bomb. I don't like to do that. I don't have one because I feel like I'd just be like, ear, 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 all the entire time. And I'd just be nothing but bells and whistles the entire damn show instead of just talking truth, right? And opinions. But I do appreciate this, Paul Graves. Thank you so much for the facts. And that's in Ohio. So why don't we click and drag that over to Utah, Moab? Why not? Do us a damn favor, y'all. Look at what Ohio is doing. There should be zero tolerance. And I get it. Maybe, Moab is a small town and all that stuff, but still, you need to have your best and brightest protecting the people of your town, whether big or small. It doesn't matter. You need to make sure that the people that are holding that gun or whoever's standing behind that shield knows exactly the way of the law. Period. Anyway, guys, that is the show today or tonight. Another late one. Hey, guys, do me a favor. I know maybe you guys haven't seen it yet, but I did post a video about a teen mother that actually casually tossed her few-day-old baby into a dumpster. I am not kidding. It is insane. Please go and check it out. Okay? Please go and check it out. That would really mean a lot. Take a look, take a listen to it. It's mind-blowing. That case is right now, they just had I think her arraignment, the teen girl just a few hours ago. So I just covered that story, and it's a story that people are talking about like crazy right now. There are a bunch of other cases. You guys are saying, hey, can you please cover this? Can you please cover that? I promise you, I will be covering those over the next couple days. I might be on tomorrow morning. I might take tomorrow morning off. I don't know yet. Yes, Stephen Addison, I will be looking into that tomorrow for sure. Whether that is a pop-up or if I do it live, I will let you know. Okay. But please do me a favor. Keep continuing hitting that like button down below. Hey guys, do me this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. Like, let me kill this music real quick. I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. What do I got to do? You know what I'm saying? What lamb do I need to sacrifice to what God? You know what I'm saying? Damn. Help a brother out. Okay. Hit that subscribe button. Tell people about this show, tell them to crush that subscribe button. All right. I'll put it down here just in case you forget. Dag nabbit. Hit that like button as well. Show the love. All right. Follow me on Twitter, please. The Pascal Show, one word. All right. Because I'm posting a lot of stuff out there and I'm getting a lot of love and stories to look at because you guys are mentioning and sending me mentions on Twitter. And that helps a lot too. So please follow me on Twitter. Go to Twitter, follow me there. And if there's anything that's going off that you want me to cover, please at me over there. And I'll make sure to check those things out. You, of course, can follow me on Instagram as well, The Pascal Show, one word, if you want to see what I'm doing with my days behind this place, out of this purple room, and what kind of dishes I'm cooking. Because I throws down in the kitchen when I'm not here. That is my moment of zen. I want to say a big thank you. Let me get this super chat in here. Nikki, what's up, girl? Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Thank you. Thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Really means a lot. But okay, please share this feed. Please let people know about the show. Let them know what's popping. Tell them to subscribe if they like a good conversation. All right. And I'll be talking to you guys soon. All right. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys very soon. Have a great night, guys. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.